Hello, my name's Walter Pollard with the Sales Enablement Society, and I'm excited to have Scott Santucci, the actual founder of the Sales Enablement Society, which started back in 2016 in Northern Virginia. Scott, great to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to doing whatever I can do to help you out.
Fantastic. So, Scott, being the founder, I'd love to hear your perspective of where this vision came from regarding to the Sales Enablement Society as a whole.
Well, the starting point of the Sales Enablement Society really started when I was in Cancun with my family. And at the time, I'd been in management consulting. And if you don't know me, I used to be the research director at Forrester. We were the first sales enablement research group. And I realized that a lot of people knew me by reports or, by digits, but people didn't really know me, and I like to be connected. So really it was, hey, how do I more or less make friends? How do we become more accessible? So we started out as a local meetup group, and that's how you and I met. You came to one of those crazy, very open-ended meetings at the country club back in when it was just the Washington, D.C. local area sales enablement networking group is how I labeled it. Sales Enablement Society is, of course, whatever other people came up with. So what was that experience like?
I thought it was fantastic because it was like coming together with my tribe, because I was involved in sales enablement, but I was off doing it on my own, right? And there weren't many folks that you could connect with and have commonalities with and have great conversations and learn and interact and engage around regarding to the sales enablement arena and how it was maturing and what was occurring. So I thought that was fantastic.
So yeah, you mentioned tribe, and tribe is that idea that Raul, we all know Raul Gupta,
right?
And Raul really seized on that, and he built the first website with his own money and his own time. And he thought about the branding and everything, and that's how he came up with the lion. And the lion really signifies this act as a tribe, and it sort of grew from there. And the core idea is one. Hey, let's recognize that sales enablement is a brand new role. I know this sounds self-aggrandizing, but when we were at Forrester, we actually wrote the first definition of what sales enablement is from a perspective of a role. And it was very challenging because no one wanted to publish it in Forrester because there was no standard of what sales enablement is. So we have to have a North Star. So we have to recognize that the role, the function is really new and it's emergent. The second thing is we're social beings. Human beings are social. And there's no way we're going to figure this out by reading a lot of reports or quote unquote best practices. We got to talk. And especially if this is a cross-functional role, which I am a very strong believer that this is a cross-functional role, and we got to learn ways to communicate. Training people talk differently than marketing people who talk differently than sales leaders. So we need that as well. And the only way that we can do that is if we have an open environment and a community.
Breaking those silos, and you bring up a really important word about the sales community. And in essence, that's what it is. And it's much more than just this conference. It's a community, and it's a community 365 days a year. It can, as I tell folks that become a member, I say you can get involved however you want. It can be what you want it to be, but the key thing is to engage, to be involved.
Right. So let's talk about specifically, here we are now in 2019, so 2016 to 2019, what actually is a Sales Enablement Society? Well, obviously that's for everybody else to figure out, but let me share with you what I see. So what I see is it's a platform. It's a platform so it's a network of connections of individual people who should all have a common sense of following core principles, of engaging and asking and being curious with each other about how to elevate their role. People that you can go to call and figure things out with. That's what it is. And the reason that I want to make sure that that's really key before we start talking about a conference, if you have in your head a conference through the lens of, well, the Gartner conference, I'm going to go to that thing. Gartner's worth what, $6 billion?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of bank account did the Sales Enablement Society have? Nothing. It's all volunteers.
Right.
It's all volunteers. It's people like Walter who are working. How many hours are you working to help put this conference together, Walter?
Oh, too many.
Too many. And you're volunteering while he's still trying to run his own business. That's why you come to the Sales Enablement Society Conference. It's done by people who believe in this so much, they're dedicating their own time. If you're trying to evaluate this, oh, it's $550 in San Antonio and they might have cookies, you're evaluating this all wrong. The whole point of having a conference is a way to get the entire community together. Every chapter is different. Every conversation is different, but actually having a way to bring everybody together is unheard of. It doesn't exist where people aren't trying to milk you for money. This is all done by people, and money is needed, of course, to be able to do it. But Walter, you don't make any money doing this, right?
Make nothing.
I made $0 too for many years. No one makes any money in the society. All the sponsorship money goes to pay to actually do the conference. Conferences are really expensive to put off. And a volunteer organization is doing it. Imagine that. And it's remarkable. So thank you, Walter, for all the work that you're doing there.
Well, I appreciate it. And I think you bring up an important point about our sponsors, not me, but our sponsors are extremely valuable to Sales Enablement Society. And that's one of the main reasons why we exist today. So it's fantastic that our sponsors' involvement. Scott, let me ask you, you bring up the great points. You know, you're going to be speaking at the conference, and I'd love to hear more. I know your title is about routes to value, empowering sellers to enable buyers. Please tell me more about that. It's an interesting title. What is this?
Yeah, what the heck is that? So if you think about a tribe, there are people who think differently. Just like in your family, there's going to be people like, oh, there's the crazy uncle, you know, or there's Steve, you know, he does that. As part of the community, I think differently about sales enablement. I'm a huge advocate of working backwards from customers. And in most organizations, there isn't one voice or one person who's responsible for that. So we have to really make this a strategic challenge. So the whole idea of routes to value is the centering point is let's simplify, right? So who are we simplifying for? We're simplifying for our sellers. So the question is, what do we want our sellers to be doing in the first place? Do we want them to be selling our products, or do we want to be adding value to our potential buyers?
Right.
Well, if we want to be selling products, guess what? You're going to lose because your buyers are way smarter about shopping out products than you are.
Right.
You're going to lose. It's going to be a bake-off. So now the question should be, it should be about enabling our sellers to add value to our buyers. How do you do that? We have to be empathetic about many different stakeholders. We have to recognize that the things that we're selling for them are commercial insights, and we want to challenge our buyers. Newsflash, they don't know how to buy being challenged because they've never executed on that before. And your buyers have many different people that have to get bought in. How do you do all that? Do you just train up your reps and think, oh, those people are going to be able to navigate 11 different stakeholders? It doesn't work that way. What we have to do is we have to do a lot more work to understand how customers navigate their agreement networks and provide them that path. We have to write a hero's journey and make our customers the heroes. The second thing we have to recognize that our sellers are the Yodas to their Luke Skywalkers, and we got to guide them along the way. So we need to give them different information, but it's really the same information for the buyer is. And then we have to find a way to put all the piece parts together because there's so many different people who are contributing to that overall story. And that's really what we're going to be talking about is a route to value is the North Star of where you want to take your customers. Empowering your sellers is what we're after, not enabling them, empowering them so that they can make your customers those heroes and those heroes to be successful. That's what we're going to be talking
So
about.
in essence, to sum this up, if I get this right, the sellers are the guide in this storyline perspective. And in essence, what they're doing is leading from a position of strategic value instead of product to enable their customers as the heroes.
That's right. And that's a simple way to put it. If I were talking to the private equity folks that I talk to that bring me in accounts, it's really about bridging the gap between strategy and execution. The business
Right.
vision of the company is one thing. How the company executed, because you have this vision, which is really, holistic. And the company is organized in individual silos. How do you create that execution fabric, that connective tissue among all of those different groups? That's more the tops down view. But
Right.
they intersect at really it comes down to it's a simple proposition. We need to concentrate. We need to learn how to help our customers be successful. We need then to cast our sellers in the role of making them heroes to our customers. And then we need to create the environment where those sellers can actually do their jobs.
Right.
Those three things.
I love that because in essence, it creates this fabric to, I always use the term breaking barriers, silos, creating this fabrics where they can unify. Instead of allowing to use unify.
Great word.
Unify for the different departments to come together and really galvanize around the customer.
That's right.
Fantastic. Well, so you're going to be at the conference for 2 days. I'd love to learn more how you're going to be involved. So what time is your session? It's, if I'm correct, 3:30 on Thursday. Is that correct?
Yeah, 3:30 on Thursday. I'm hopeful that I can make a plea. But for if you're listening, this is what the founder gets you nothing. But I can make a plea. Can you guys please move my session to a different time? The reason is I'm slotted against the Women in Sales Enablement group, and I really want to support that. I think it's paramount that we create more space, particularly in sales, to have the voice of women, because frankly, we need diversity to be able to solve the complex problems that we're solving, and we got to learn by making the space to create diversity in the first place. So I want to do whatever I can to support that. And if you are involved in the Women in Sales Enablement wise, and I can't, these guys, let's do it right. These guys won't move me. Then contact me and see what I can do to plug what you guys are doing in my session, because I think it's really, really important. I'm really delighted that people took that on their own initiative. I want to do what I can to help. So that's one thing. That's the session. But then the other thing that I'm really excited about is I've launched a podcast. So I have a podcast that I do with Brian Lambert, whom you know. He was one of our original founding members in the DC area. And our podcast is called InsideSalesEnablement.com. That's where you can find it. And really, it's a podcast devoted to having conversations for the people who are trying to push the envelope and actually elevate it. So it's the behind the scenes stories about what makes execution happen. And we're going to be podcasting live there. So what we're looking for are people who are happy or comfortable enough to come up and say, hey, Scott, I don't believe in what you're talking about. Let's get you on, and we'll change the names to protect the innocent, and challenge us. We are very strong believers in that the way that we improve or elevate our role is by challenging, not sort of accepting doctrine, challenging doctrine. And that means challenging ourselves. And if I can't answer a tough question, then you shouldn't listen to me. You shouldn't listen to anybody who can't answer a tough question, frankly, but I'm going to practice what I preach. So that's what we're looking for. And we're also looking to figure out how to do little snapshots about our takeaways of some of the sessions.
Fantastic. Well, Scott, really looking forward to seeing you at the conference. Again, the Sales Enablement Society Conference is now next week, October 16th through the actual 18th. The 2 main days of the conference is opening night on the 16th, but the 17th and 18th. Look forward to seeing you there, Scott.
Thank you so much, and thank you for spending your time doing this. Everybody really appreciates it.
Thanks.
They just don't know that you're not getting paid for any of this. You get paid $0.
Right. Well, I appreciate you starting the Sales Enablement Society, and look forward to it. I'm glad you're participating at the conference.
Awesome. Thanks for welcoming me, and look forward to it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.